The Netherlands, famous for tulips and windmills, became the center of a tech crisis in 2025. A battle over microchips, not land or oil, shook Europe's most vital industry. Suddenly, this peaceful nation was thrust into a tech war. It all began in the land of tulips and windmills. So, what is Nexperia? To most, it's an unknown name. But inside the tech and auto industries, Nexperia is a giant, producing the basic chips that power nearly every electronic device. These aren't flashy processors, but the essential workhorses found in everything from cars to medical equipment. A modern car contains over 1,000 semiconductors, many made by Nexperia. Headquartered in Nijmegen, Nexperia was once a Dutch tech crown jewel. But in 2019, it was acquired by China's Wingtech technology. At the time, few noticed. But as global tensions rose, so did concerns. Western governments worried, what if Beijing used Nexperia's control as leverage? These chips aren't just in cars, they're in power grids, hospitals, and military hardware. Allowing a strategic rival to control this supply was seen as an unacceptable risk. Nexperia became more than a company. It was a strategic asset. The Dutch government, backed by allies, decided the risk was too great. The stage was set for confrontation. The fate of Europe's tech backbone now hung in the balance, and the world was about to find out just how fragile that backbone was. In late summer 2025, the Dutch government made its move. They invoked a new national security law, ordering Wingtech to divest its stake in Nexperia. The message, Dutch technology could no longer be controlled by a Chinese entity. The move was bold, direct, and a clear challenge to Beijing. The government argued it was defending Europe's economic security. But the impact was immediate. Markets panicked. Nexperia's operations were thrown into chaos. Wingtech called it illegal expropriation and vowed to fight back. The Dutch hoped for a clean separation, but instead triggered a messy public battle. Nexperia was deeply integrated into Wingtech's global operations. Untangling them was a brutal, risky process. The intervention, meant to protect Europe, created a new crisis overnight. Financial markets reeled, and Nexperia's future was suddenly uncertain. The Dutch government had tried to defend sovereignty, but instead, they'd lit a fuse. The company's supply chains, research, and finances were all at risk. Forcing a divestment was like performing surgery with a sledgehammer. The result, chaos, confusion, and a threat to the very industry they hoped to protect. The intervention was supposed to prevent a future threat. Instead, it created a present-day disaster. Europe's tech sector was now in uncharted territory, and the world was watching. The first casualty of the Nexperia chaos? Europe's auto industry. This sector is the continent's economic backbone, employing millions. It relies on just-in-time manufacturing, no stockpiles, no room for error. Nexperia supplied essential chips to nearly every major car maker. When the Dutch intervened, the supply chain snapped. Orders went unfulfilled, shipments stalled, and factories ground to a halt. Factory managers across Germany and beyond made desperate calls. No one had answers. Production lines slowed, then stopped. The just-in-time model became a just-in-time disaster. For automakers, it was a nightmare, worse than the COVID-era chip shortages. This crisis wasn't caused by a virus, but by a political decision. A move in The Hague idled factories in Stuttgart and Wolfsburg. The attempt to protect national security had, in the short term, wounded Europe's most important industry. The ripple effects spread fast. Workers sent home, communities on edge. The engine of Europe's economy was seizing up, and the worst was still to come. The continent's industrial heart was now at risk. China's response was swift and severe. Beijing saw the forced divestment as a hostile act, Western protectionism at its worst. The foreign ministry condemned the move, but words were just the start. China retaliated by halting exports of key semiconductors from Chinese-owned facilities. The list targeted the same basic chips Nexperia made, crippling Europe's auto industry. China, the world's largest producer of these chips, had weaponized its supply chain. The message, target our companies, and we'll cripple your economy. The Dutch move, meant to reduce risk, triggered a catastrophe. The chip shortage became a famine. Factories across Europe were cut off. Beijing's economic counterstrike was devastating. Europe's industrial engine was now at the mercy of global politics. The chess match had become a checkmate. The Nexperia crisis quickly became a story of human cost. As the chip famine worsened, factories across Europe went dark. Automotive giants like Volkswagen and BMW shut down plants. Thousands of workers sent home. The pain spread to the UK, France, Spain, and Italy. Layoffs became reality. It wasn't just big car makers. Smaller suppliers and local businesses suffered too. Communities built around factories faced fear and uncertainty. Cafes, shops, and garages lost customers as paychecks vanished. People who'd worked decades in the same plant suddenly faced an uncertain future. The crisis rippled from factory floors to dinner tables and unemployment lines. The Nexperia debacle was no longer theoretical. It was a tangible crisis for ordinary people. The high-stakes game of political chess had real-world casualties. Europe's industrial might was shaken to its core, and the cost was measured in lost livelihoods. With factories idle, Europe scrambled for a plan B. Leaders and executives called chip makers in the US, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Could they fill the gap? Not immediately. Switching suppliers takes months, even years. Other chip makers were already at capacity. There was no quick fix. The world realized just how constrained the chip supply really was. The only long-term solution: build Europe's own chip factories. The EU's Chips Act suddenly became urgent, with billions pledged for new fabs. But new factories take years, too late for the current crisis. Automakers tried redesigns and paid sky-high prices on the gray market. These were just band-aids on a gaping wound. Europe had prioritized efficiency over resilience and handed the keys to someone else. Now, it was paying the price. The scramble for silicon revealed a hard truth. There was no easy way out. The continent's economic engine had stalled. The Nexperia debacle was more than an industrial crisis. It was a reckoning. Europe's vision of harmonious globalization was shattered. Supply chains, once seen as economic pathways, became instruments of power. Dependency on a strategic rival for critical components was a historic blunder. The pursuit of efficiency had created a single point of failure. The silence in Europe's factories was a warning. Sovereignty and security are inseparable. The era of unchecked globalization is over. Techno-nationalism is rising. Countries will race to build resilient regional supply chains, at great cost. But the cost of inaction is even higher. The Nexperia crisis showed how easily the balance of power can be broken. The question now isn't if another crisis will happen, but when. In this new world, preparation is survival. Europe's lesson: never hand over the keys to your future.